I'll just go through a little bit of what's going on, looking at the trends that we're seeing in the industry. I think there's some interesting numbers that are starting to come out of this, and the numbers are starting to show some trends. Then we'll go into a bit of what's going on, what we've done, and importantly, what we haven't done yet. There's been roadblocks and issues and whatever we've had to deal with, and where we're heading in the future. So just a reminder about what BIM is, and it's something that I keep getting asked all the time, is what is BIM, what do you think BIM is? And I'm starting to get a little bit of heart that people are starting to see that it's a process and it's about information, and we've heard a lot of that today as well. And it's not about software, but one that I heard someone say, and I liked it, so I've stolen it, was they said that BIM is part process, part people, part software, and all collaboration. And I think that actually encapsulates what BIM is to this industry quite nicely. So I've stolen that one, it's not mine. Common misconceptions: it's not just 3D models, it's not just Revit, and not one tool can do everything. There's a bunch of things that need to come together for a project to deliver the information at the end, which is ultimately the model of information that the client wants to run their facility. These are the bunch of challenges that we've been hearing over and over again. I think I went through these last year, and they're just getting more and more reinforced in our minds about the common problems that people are hitting during the early stages of these projects. The colours, by the way, are the green ones is where we're starting to help out a little bit. The orange ones is where we're doing a little bit of work helping out with people, and the red ones is where we've hit some hurdles and we haven't quite finished our work on that yet. So what's been going on? Last year when I spoke, we had about 70,000, we were forecasting by the end of 2011 to have about 70,000 models, and that was based upon the models that people have been putting up into our system, and that was up from virtually nothing in 2008. So already we were seeing an enormous amount of growth. 70,000 was our forecast. We actually hit, or the number that we ended up with at the end of 2011 was about 120,000. And at the moment, we're currently sitting at about 180,000, forecast to hit 280,000 by the end of the year. So what I thought was pretty explosive growth 12 months ago has been wiped out of the water by the activity that we've been seeing over the last 12 months. In other words, things aren't slowing down, they're speeding up. So we're 180,000 models, it's a big number, getting bigger. The average model size is 54, but that's starting to plateau. I've got a slide on the next page. It shows that average model size starting to kind of plateau a bit, and we think that's because that's kind of the logical size that people are comfortable dealing with, distributing, loading in up on the kind of the bits of hardware that they have, and the maximum that we have is 870 meg, which is enormous, and the largest one about a year ago was nearly half a gig, but now it's approaching a gig. This is the slide showing the average file size. As you can see, it's starting to plateau a little bit, at around 54 meg at the moment, and the largest is kind of spiked up, and maybe, so the previous one is showing, I think, that the people are starting to logically get to a size that they think they can work with, but this one's showing that there are projects out there that are getting more and more and more complex, and some of the big end projects and some of the big end models are getting enormous. Interestingly, this is a stat we only kind of figured out yesterday, that almost 1 in 3 of the projects that we run now have model files in them in some way or another, which is an enormous percentage. I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near that high. I kind of anecdotally would have thought it'd be around 10 to 15%, but it's approaching a third, and you can see it's kind of ramping up pretty quickly as well. So they're the stats that we're getting from our user base. It's certainly not definitive, but it's we think showing some pretty strong trends. So one thing that I should say about these numbers is we're unable to that's by us counting up files that we store, the model files, and we can do it with IFC and Revit files and all those kind of ones that have a file extension that's pretty obvious. But there are a whole bunch of models, like we can't tell the difference by looking at the outside of a file whether a DWG is a 2D or a 3D or a DGN likewise. So there may be some under or overstatement on some of those stats. Actually, it'd be understatement on the numbers, and it probably will overstate this one. This one here is showing a really dominant use of RVT or Revit files, followed by Navis, and probably less than we thought on IFC. But that percentages, I think, will be they'll be brought back into line when you kind of bring in the DWG, DWF, DGN file formats that we can't actually tell too easily whether they're 2D or 3D. And this last one is just I'm going to talk later on about mobile and the use of mobile devices to access this data. And this is just showing the trend of people picking up mobile devices. I mean, it's anecdotally, you'll all know that people are using mobile devices and iPads more and more. This one's showing you that the trend is accelerating and accelerating fast. We're kind of at that point there where the inflection point's already started to kick away, but you can expect more and more people to be accessing information through these mobile devices rather than sitting at the desktop, especially people in the field, like actually out on site, doing the work, inspecting the work. More and more of those are going to be using those kind of devices and expecting that kind of interaction, not to have to go back to their desk and log into something. And then it's the same thing that a few people have been saying already, but said in a different way. It's the difference between the design team and the rest of the team. So you've got the design team saying, hey, I'm using Revit, isn't that great? We're doing BIM, which is fine because you're doing part of the story. You're doing your model authoring, you're doing a bit of model management, but that's just the one half of the team, or even less than half of the team. The rest of the team, or the rest of the project team, needs to interact with that information plus more. There's a whole heap of stuff that then goes on. All the stuff outside the model needs to be linked up to create a full information model about the building, which is ultimately what BIM's all about. And really importantly, managing the communication, the audit trail, all of the stuff that goes on in a project that you still need to record. Just the same in 3D land that you do in 2D land. So that's an important thing that people are starting to trig to, and we're seeing that association starting to resemble reality. So what have we done and not done yet? Well, we've done lots since last year, but we've also hit quite a few brick walls. I wouldn't say brick walls, but hurdles, and we've tripped over some things, and we've had to go back and 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the work around the BIM server, for instance, we've probably had 3 things going on, and 3 of them we've figured out with 3 of them that there's been some sort of issue. And it's mainly because there are plenty of BIM servers out there, but the kind of solution that we're trying to head towards, where there's this cloud-based BIM server that the rest of the project team can really access, can be accessible really quickly by mobile devices, and can be scaled up to high levels of project data, is harder than it first sounds. And also trying to find the right technology around mobile delivery of this information that can actually handle models that are bigger than 10 or 15 or 20 meg, which they're easy to do, but it's the larger ones that the technology can kind of hit some hurdles. So we're part of the way to BIM servers in the cloud, and we're part of the way to mobile visualization, but we certainly aren't there yet. People are using us today to do things like distributing and versioning, approving models, putting them through workflows, managing the coordination and RFI stuff, all that basic stuff that they're doing in 2D land, they're doing it with models now. And we've got 3 new things that have just come out. So this is kind of what we've done over the last 12 months. I'll kind of talk about 3 of them. 2 of them are much more directly linked, and the other one is more a step along the way. So the first one is we've now got a BIM viewer available for project teams to use, and it's generally, I wouldn't say for this audience in this room mainly. It's mainly for the contractors and the subs and those guys who want to consume the information rather than the guys that are authoring the information. They can use it to view it, rotate it, mark it up, put comments on it, send that comment to someone for them to review. You can do some basic clash detection, you can do sectioning, all that kind of stuff just using a browser. So that's a way for the project team to start interacting visually with these models as well. And there come some of the things you can do, including collaborating in real time, which is a cool thing. You can bring up a window, start looking at a model, invite someone in another location, another country to open up a window and see exactly the same thing. So as you rotate it, they see it rotate. You can both see what's happening. You can both mark it up together and then save those markups. There's kind of like a combined session around design review. The second thing is around field and mobile. So this is the one that's a little bit kind of a step along the way for us. So it's putting these devices in the hands of people with the information that they can access. We haven't got yet the 3D visualization piece on here. There's certainly 2D, there's certainly data capture, data consumption. You can then issue things back to people in the trailer using these devices. They're both up and available now, both the field defect tool and the mobile app, which is an iPad app and an iPhone app for people to suck information, work offline, review it, that kind of stuff. And number 3, I'm going through this really quickly, aren't I? But that's good, we'll get ahead of time. Number 3 is we've teamed up with a company called XRev to produce a Revit plugin. And that Revit plugin is going to do a whole bunch of things, but kind of the first cab off the rank, the thing that kind of most of our clients wanted was a way to be in Revit and publish a whole heap of 2D stuff out to the people that need to consume that 2D, the sheets, elevations and plans and reflected ceiling plans and stuff. So from within Revit, you've got this plugin, you're able to, from there, export your sheets, as you would normally through Revit. You can just spit out, 2,000 sheets. It does a whole heap of kind of association of metadata by itself, so it can kind of do, naming of the titles of the drawings, all that kind of stuff can be sucked from the model. And so you're associating the metadata, and then you can kind of click a button and that will publish all of that in a bulk process into your Aconex doc register ready for you to transmit it out. So significant time savings for anybody who's kind of doing 2D publishing out to your project team. This is a tool that will really help you streamline that process. It's available through that link. For the next 2 days, there's a 10% discount if you go on there and buy it online. So it's just a download. You can buy it with your credit card over the web. Okay. So what's the future? Well, that's kind of our view of where we need to go. So we see that there's a solution that we need to provide to project teams that interacts with the authoring tools on one side, but we then act as a place where people can do that communication and collaboration bit that we've done for the last 12 years and will continue to do, but do that around objects in the models rather than around files. So it's just a change in the type of data that we're processing. The visualization piece that we've got, the BIM server that we haven't quite got yet, and that's what we kind of the object-driven stuff that we're talking about. And then out in the field, allowing the people that are out in the field to access information via mobile devices. So in terms of the scorecard, and this is me giving myself ratings, if you like, I reckon that on 2 of them we're kind of part-way there, but red kind of means a bit of a fail up to now, as in we haven't got anything really to show people at this point in time. The plugins, it's a 7 because we've got actually a really interesting and cool tool for people to start using, but there's much more for us to add into that suite of plugins. And then the visualization piece and the platform piece are both really quite good in terms of their completeness as individual pieces, but there's some more integration that needs to happen across those suite of services so it's a bit more seamless. So kind of recapping what we think the key to effective BIM is all about. Again, it's not about the software, but it's about effective communication, the solid processes with your team. Really important is that complete audit trail, because without that audit trail, just things are going to go wrong. And making sure that your project team, all of the project team, not just the design team, can collaborate and consume the information they need. That's the end. Anybody got any questions or all done? All right. Thank you. Is that Carl? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, the question was around O&M manuals. What are we doing? We do have a solution that we launched just recently, actually, at our sales conference. I didn't bring it up today just because I didn't think it was necessarily directly related just yet. So we've got a solution that allows the project team to pull together all of the stuff that you need to hand over as part of your O&M manual to your client and present it to them in a way that they can actually consume. So rather than giving them a stack full of binders or sections in some kind of folder format, it's a visual way of the FM or the FM provider or the client consuming. So they kind of click through floor plans, if you like. So you click on an elevation, you click on level 2, you then go to level 2, you zoom in on an area, then you click on a pump, and up comes the list of all the things that relate to that pump, like the warranty and the specs and all the photos and commissioning sheets, all that kind of stuff. So we have that now, and people are starting to use that. I see the logical extension of BIM, and that's probably where it kind of ties in quite neatly here, is when you start linking all of that stuff, not to a 2D plan, but up to your model, so that you're able to hand across to your clients the fully integrated, fully linked up 3D model plus all of the associated information that sits around it, and that's kind of where we see it ending up. But right now we don't have that yet, but we do have the 2D version.